Oh, I think we're live.
We
Abdo
are.
Achkar. Hey, pleasure to meet you.
Good to see you, Jodah. How's it
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
man? You good?
yeah. And remind me again, where are you coming out of?
So right now I'm in Lebanon.
That's right, you're in Lebanon these
Yep,
days.
yep, yep.
Okay, all right, we'll get to that in a
Yeah,
second. Okay,
yep.
hey folks, welcome. I want to welcome everybody to uh, the Hashed Out Spotlight Show. This is going to be a recurring hour where we speak to some movers and shakers in the tech world, not specifically, but definitely in the blockchain, Bitcoin, um, uh, finance world. And today, and normally I have a co-host, Dan Tarker, and hopefully he'll be joining us in a second here. Today, however, we have Abdo Achkar. Did I pronounce that last name correctly?
hmm
Yep. Who, excuse me, doesn't matter, who is the CEO and founder of Sowlutions, and has been in the tech industry for about 20 years. If you read his bio, it sounds like a bit of a wild ride, but a successful one at the same at that. Anyways, hey, Abdo Achkar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jodah.
Um, Anyways, all right, so can we level set maybe perhaps for the audience, and the show will figure out what's important for audiences as we move forward. But I think one of the things we want to kind of do is we want to make simple that what is complex. Dan and my uh, genes is we try to cut through the complexity and the marketing hoopla and all that stuff, and just like, what are you talking about here? How are we leveling the human existence up with everything that you're talking about, right? Um, so let's see. Do I ask for Graham? What is blockchain?
Okay, so the question is
And
like
am I asking
probably,
the right
yeah,
question? And am I asking
yeah,
the right
well,
question?
exactly. So probably, blockchain and crypto might be what it is probably an easy question to answer for all the guys that are watching us here since we're on a technical thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think like, when we talked last time, we were saying like, hey, should people be worried about knowing what Bitcoin is or what
Mm-hmm.
blockchain is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we get my grandma to basically use crypto? And I think like, people should, I'm not saying should necessarily skip the question. They should skip worrying about or actually think whether this is relevant or not. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people basically use cash. So we need to think about the usability or utility of an instrument instead of like thinking about necessarily how it works. I'm the kind of person who needs to know how it works, but and we need to know the trust behind it. If you but going skeptical, you can go as skeptical as you want to be. You can go and read the source code. You can go and dig deep as how deep you can go. But saying that my grandma needs to learn about how blockchain functions to use it is something that I don't think is useful or pragmatic. So this is where I think trust should be conveyed from us to the older generation. Like, hey, I know it's supported by cryptography. I know, if you're using a bank, this is more secure than a bank, and you can use it. Okay. Um, yeah. So that would be how I would approach uh,
So okay,
blockchain or crypto to older generations.
yeah, and that makes sense. And I think that was kind of something we mentioned earlier. I mean, I don't have an intimate knowledge of how even fiat currency works, and I think it's pretty well known that a lot of people don't know because it's arcane, and there's a lot of power structures and mechanisms and things like that that get in it, and so it's a cryptic environment unto itself, and to think otherwise, I think it would be lying to yourselves. But I think you're right. There was that trust thing for whatever reason, and maybe for good reason. People say, "We'll trust this thing." We'll trust it until I'm not sure what would prove it to prove people not to trust it. Probably a high inflation. I know deflation. Who knows?
Yeah.
So what does it take to get people to trust then? What does it get people to trust? And I guess is it take that killer app to get people interested?
Um, a killer app is definitely something that would enhance uh, or that would basically promote trust. For example, I can attest that Binance, specifically in Lebanon, um, and I know I lived in Silicon Valley for a while, but being in Lebanon, back in Lebanon, you can tell, especially during the hyperinflation period, where the US dollar has gone like 50 times higher versus the Lebanese pound. Um, you can see that people were using Binance to exchange crypto, pay for stuff, pay employees. So USDT specifically, so stable coins, right? And in my perspective here, there is a certain level of trust in Binance specifically, to basically hold at least temporarily my cash versus putting it in a bank where people got locked out and couldn't go to grab their cash, right? Um, Now, how do you make it easy enough to get my grandmother to use it? That's also another question. But yeah, trust is one basic factor here. Storing, hey, Dan.
Dan, continue, Abdo.
Excellent.
We go. We'll
Yeah. So, um, so yeah, making it easy enough to get my grandmother on. I don't know if this is
I
like
can't
the
hear
thing
anybody.
that
Uh-oh, hold on.
you
Hold
can't
on.
hear.
I'm not
All
sure.
right. Test.
Testing, Dan. Mr. Tarker. Tarker. All right. Well, so you said trust with the grandmother, though.
Yeah. So your question was like, how do we get the older people to trust a
Yeah.
system as well, right?
Yeah.
And my grandmother like probably would not be an easy person to convince. And sometimes like we can people it takes a little bit of time to convey trust, right? And in the beginning, my mother did not trust that Bitcoin was a good thing. Like although she supported like that I'm buying Bitcoin like early on. And then same thing for my dad and wife. So later on, like you can see people converting at different periods. We haven't reached mass adoption yet, but you're seeing like the chasm is about to be crossed to the mass population, right? Um, and even my mom basically has crypto. My wife has crypto. My sister-in-law, and they're young. Like my mom's young, right? And so and you can see like people adopting little by little. It's not going to be like me to my grandmother. It's going to be more like me to my mom. And then my daughter will inherently, adopt crypto as an innate utility to use, especially once we give them the tools. Like, hey, this is your app. This is your allowance. It comes in crypto. This is how you can use it. And then as the payment gateways start supporting payment all over the place, and they use it this way, then everything becomes more omnipresent. Probably it becomes more of a tool. So it's one generation up, one generation down, and then we can think about my grandmother later.
Dan, do you hear us? Are we online?
Yeah, I
All
can
right.
hear.
Hey, everybody. Dan Tarker. He has joined us. Good morning. It's early in the morning for us. So
Yeah, it's very early in the morning for us.
So Dan, I just asked Abdo about grandma. I asked him how grandma was going to care, and so we're kind of exploring that space right now around sort of naturalization of the blockchain technology and how people are going to trust it, think about it, care about it, use it. My premise was that it's still sort of this arcane technology, this hip sort of early stage, scary, risky, wild west place where people are being taken advantage of. Do we need to get rid of that, Abdo? I mean, we just had some big high profile cases with crypto that were pretty ground shaking, and does that have to disappear? Or I mean, it kind of hasn't from fiat cash, so maybe it doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've been like, answering about Bitcoin and crypto, and I haven't been talking about the blockchain technology specifically, although
No.
like it's much wider than just Bitcoin, right? But yeah, and if somebody robs a bank, it's not that, the fiat is problematic, it's that the bank was insecure. And if you leave your wallet out there on the road, It's you who's being irresponsible, rather than, you know, the concept of money itself as being flawed. And same thing goes here. If my bitcoins are stolen, it's not that that Bitcoin as a utility is bad or is insecure. It's more like how you're handling your bitcoins or how you're storing it. And so it's and this is probably the least of the problems. Like, you can get ransomwares, you can get viruses, you can get like your work files taken, your bank can be hacked through. So all of these are security principles that everybody needs to learn, and we need to be more educated, or like more cybersecurity educated as a next generation, right? So if you're not, if you don't know how to program, I always tell my wife, if you don't know how to program in this era, you're illiterate, right? And this is the next literacy. You need to know how to program. You need to understand how security functions. And then next, you need, you know, if you want to learn about money, you need to understand how blockchain crypto functions.
Oh, you
Right.
just
So,
dropped a grenade there. We'll have to go down that
yeah.
path in a second. I've never thought about that. Interesting. So, Dan, thoughts?
I'm just listening. Yeah. So, I mean, Abdo, you describe yourself as a libertarian, and I've often felt like the crypto space is a very libertarian space to be in. Can you tell us, define for us what libertarianism is to you, and how did you get there? You know,
Okay. So for me, I thought, like, you know, it's you know, freedom has always been one of the most important things for me throughout my whole life. And, you know, it's freedom of what I want to do, and then the freedom of my future. And then later on, I started understanding more that it's a freedom of my finances, right? And to think about it, it and the more I learned, it's more like I'm making my money, but this money basically is going to disappear. Okay, little by little, being chipped away by, you know, government inflation. Whenever they feel like issuing or printing more money, my value is going away, and I'm going to be old one day, and
mhm,
whatever value I've provided or brought to society is going to be gone. So that's, you know, this is how I think about libertarianism. Like, it's not just financial, it's like a lot of concepts. I don't want anyone to dictate on me where or what I can do. Um,
right.
so that's the very basic thing. Um, and then I think the role of government is different. The role of government should be different. It should be just to protect my freedoms, right? So, and yours, enact
Mhm.
laws, protect the freedoms. And this is what government should be doing versus, you know, telling me what I should do at home or what I should do with my children, or et cetera, with my
Right.
finances. Um, and I can get, you know, as I can get to the extent where I can call taxation theft. So this is, in my opinion, it's, yeah. I mean, you're taking.
How is government going to run though if there's no taxation at all?
Yeah, so a nice example would be the usage of blockchain, right? So we're talking about government, we're talking about services, right? And so you're like, okay, who's going to build the highway if we don't have taxation? It's like, okay, great. I'm a private company, I can build the highway. You know, if I use the highway, I'll pay, you know, some tokens as I'm driving across,
So
right?
you're more
So
in favor of tolls and things like that to pay for services?
well, you could use the way tolls are used in California specifically is
Yeah.
very bad, because you're already paying 55% in taxes, and, you know, they're still unable to you know, make sure that the roads are good enough, or like servicing me the way I deserve.
Oh, come
So
on.
and
Gavin Newsom's doing a great
they
job.
resort to
Talk about a pickpocket.
yeah.
Oh, it didn't start with Gavin, Dan. It's been
Oh, I
around.
know, I know.
It's got maybe the Democratic
Um,
Party. I don't know. Yeah.
But no,
So,
go
all
on,
right.
go
So,
on. I'm definitely interested in hearing your philosophy about the taxation, because I think that's kind of the rub of it, right? I mean, yeah, you're right.
yeah.
California overtaxes people for sure. The United States, I mean, probably overtaxes us for what we get in returns. We have a declining infrastructure. I don't think anyone would argue with that. And so, where's our tax dollars going, right?
And how will blockchain technology solve for that?
Yeah, exactly. If you measurement is at the essence of every single thing that's well done. Okay, so if you want to deliver a certain thing, we need to measure it. And having, the way governments function right now is not well measured, right? Like we don't get like visibility as much as we should, and we don't get performance measurement with blockchain. And like for saying, hey, there's a private company or anyone can come and bid to build this highway, right? And then we can tie it to, we don't have to necessarily pay tolls, but we can say we want to contribute to this so we can own a chunk of it in the future, on a blockchain. And Dan in the future is gonna, he's not gonna pay today, but he's gonna pay to me.
Oh,
That's
I'll
one way
never
to think
pay.
about, right?
Dan, you're always paying. What are you talking about? Jeez.
So yeah,
I'll use
exactly.
that service
So
though.
Yeah, wishful thinking, sir.
yeah, you can definitely tokenize these things. Think about them on a blockchain, connect them to next generation tools. Your Tesla is basically going to be connected with the highway down the line. And a lot of other things, probably your eyeglasses, some chips injected in your brain. I don't want to get too futuristic,
So,
but
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. You
Abdo,
go
so
on futuristic. I mean, Lex
yeah, no,
Fridman
we
just
have to
had
get
like a
futuristic on the
virtual
show.
episode with Zuckerberg on his show.
Yeah, the
Where
future
they
is
did the whole thing
now,
in the metaverse.
exactly.
Yep.
So I want to. So you're saying a lot of things there, and it sounds to me. I'm just going to put it this way. It sounds like you're saying blockchain allows us to commodify everything.
Yep.
That's what you're essentially saying,
Yeah.
and that the commodification. And well, I grew up in an era where the commodification of everything was a bad thing. You didn't want to commodify, and I still have it in my heart, right? I don't want to commodify healthcare. I see misalignments around that. I can see where the conflict of interests occur. I don't want to commodify someone's life, whether we should
That's
go
because
save that
Jodah's
person
a
off the cliff.
socialist.
Yeah, no, I'm a humanist. I mean, geez, I mean, I care about people. And I'm not saying I can't be persuaded, and maybe I'm thinking about certain things in the wrong way. But there is the idea for a lot of people to commodify everything is pretty scary, and so I don't know what's your response to that?
All right, so let's be pragmatic about, or actually, let's look at the world from a way that can be measured in a certain way, right? So let's say we're all on our deathbed,
Oh,
right?
by the way, I'm noticing you're saying measured, not commodified. So is that a language
Yep.
thing as well?
So measured means, for me, measured. I was talking about the transparency of things,
Yeah,
and then making sure that things are efficient. And you cannot be efficient unless you measure things, right? Like there's no top level athlete that wins unless they measure their performance,
I
right?
think Dan and I would
So
agree with that. Yeah.
so you get started with basic measurement. So measurement is at the basic of every improvement that you want to do. Okay. Otherwise, you can like go fluctuating left and right, or up and down, and you wouldn't know whether you're improving or not. Okay. So come back to the point. So you're saying how commodification of a human life is a problem, or you're a humanist. And for me, we have a choice, right? So let's say we have a certain amount of money, right? And you and I can die. I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you should die
Never.
or I should die. Okay,
You're
maybe
obsessed
we
with
can
that.
maybe we can say, maybe we
Sorry,
can save both. Okay. Maybe we can save both, but can you force me to come and serve you so you would survive? And here's the dilemma. Like, am I forced to? Let's say I'm able to survive right now, but you're not. And for you to survive, I need to leave everything and come and serve you. Okay. So in here, you're basically taking away my freedom because I don't want to. You can't force me to serve you. But at the same time, like you're saying, like your life is more important than my freedom. Okay. And this is where it's a very slippery slope, and everything becomes that, you're entitled to everything. So in a real world, you want to think about whether you're entitled or you're not. And I opt for responsibility. I'm responsible for my thing. I'm free to serve Joda if I want to, but I don't have to. Okay. And this is where the fine line is, right? And every human life, you think about it, with this principle, is costs something, right? Like we can keep you alive, let's say for 300 years, if we have like 1,000 people taking care of you, like replacing every single organ, etc., etc. We're going to reach a certain phase where, Dan might be able to live longer than you because he has more money. And
Yes.
um, and this is, I think we're getting
poor
there.
world, poor world.
Well, I mean, we're living much longer than the lords of the 18th century.
Yeah.
We have better
Yeah.
care. You have people
Jodah
taking
and I
care
would
of
be
you.
dead if
Yeah.
it were like 100 years ago.
I'd be the year twice over.
Yep. So yeah, I think it's a blessing to be alive. No one owes us anything. We're here to fight for ourselves, and if we want to help
So you don't
others,
think
that would be good.
all right, so this is really damn it, Dan, you opened the philosophical stuff, man. So you don't think that we as people owe each other stuff at all? You don't think there's a community, the notion of community where we owe each other
There's a big
good faith
difference. There's a big
relationships?
difference.
Okay, all right,
There's a
okay. So
big difference.
I made
I have the
okay, false
freedom. I have
relationship.
no, yeah. I have a freedom to basically donate as much as I want, help as much as I want, but I don't have. No one can force me to do so. Okay, so I do this from my own decision, and uh, this is the difference. Okay, when you're forcing others to do things they don't want to do, this is bad. But if they want to do it themselves, then it's perfectly fine, right? And you don't have to talk about it. Like if you're doing something good to others, you don't have to go and say, "Hey, I'm doing good."
What? We don't want
You
to
just,
broadcast it on virtue signal all over social media?
yep. No, you shouldn't, because like you get you're not doing good in this case. You're more like promoting yourself. You're using doing good as basically credit in a different way. I'm
Right.
saying like if you believe in doing good, but if you want to, don't claim you're doing good if
So
you're
we
doing
can't
these.
commodify our virtue.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? I mean, I wonder
Well,
if,
so
yeah.
Dan, you're a dean. Dan's a dean, and again, I might be comparing an apples and oranges. So I'm trying to see where these boundaries lay. But Dan's a dean. He runs the show at one of the aspects of his school he works at, and he has people report to him. And I know I'm being very loosey goosey and comparing apples and oranges here a little bit. But Dan needs those people to respond and work in concert, and yeah, there's some autonomy, but there's also some command and control so that the thing works as an organism. And so Dan will set direction, and people will have to follow that direction, and then perhaps
I would not characterize
and then
it like
depending
that
on
at
how your
all.
leadership style is, they have certain levels of autonomy. Unless Dan, you are a dean of chaos.
Higher education's a very different environment than what you're imagining.
But so are you? But in that
does not work.
okay, but I'm just saying. So are you saying that they're in a particular sort of organizations that they should? Well, how does this philosophy, or does this not gel in an organization, or do you still have to sort of be sort of beholden to a sort of command and control mechanism in organizations, or can this fly inside of some sort of company as well? This sort of philosophy.
Well, I mean, you're paying people for their labor in any work situation, and they're choosing, ideally in a work situation, they're choosing to work in that field because they have some sort of, they enjoy it, hopefully. So that
And that's not always true either, but go on.
Yeah, but I mean, but I think ideally, I'm saying in an ideal situation that they've chosen that career path because they enjoy it, and we are paying them, we are compensating them, and faculty go on strike if they're not getting paid enough. So, and I guess in the higher ed environment, it's more of a influence type of leadership. It's more servant leadership. Probably that's truest sense, right? Because you're leading from behind and collectively developing a vision for your organization to go forward. The leadership style of an Elon Musk would never fly in higher ed, right? That kind of command and control type of situation would lead to a complete breakdown. But in that industry, in his industry, it clearly works, right?
That's debatable. I mean, yeah, yes, outputs probably depends on what you're defining as success, but yeah, for sure. So interesting.
But
Huh?
Abdo, you can script. You're a venture capitalist in a sense, right? Using your cryptocurrency to invest in other companies. What is your involvement in that? Like when you're working with entrepreneurs to develop a new company, what are you looking for in their leadership approach that says, you know what, I'm going to invest in that person and that idea that they have?
Yeah, so basically so I have two ways generally, or two media that I use for investment. One is the tech for equity, which is via solutions, and the other is via fiat cash, right? And so basically, there are two different investment approaches. When you're investing money, it's usually easier and faster, and you don't have to be as involved. And when you're investing tech for equity, you're very involved, right? So you have to be very even more selective than when you're investing your money. So in terms of leadership styles for me, like before I even get to that, because I'm a very early stage investor. You There's no management or leadership style at that entry
Right.
level, right? It's more like, uh, are they stubborn enough? Like, this is a quality that I look
Do
for.
they have some grit?
uh,
Interesting.
uh,
Persistence and grit. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
grit, definitely. Grit is one of the most important things. Are they going to stay in the game for long enough? Number two is like, we from a pragmatic perspective, I believe that later stage entrepreneurs who have been in a specific industry for long enough have the relationships and the product market fit concepts, versus a younger 20-year-old who's coming up
Oh,
with an
interesting.
idea, right? So, especially with the tech for equity, we like domain experts. So, we target domain experts and we invest that way. Okay.
Can you explain
So, we
what
help
tech
them.
for equity means? I mean, it's an interesting term because you're tying tech and equity. And I'm
Yeah.
also wondering, does equity conflict with some of the libertarian values?
Okay. So tech for equity means, you have a product idea. You've been in, let's say, pharmaceuticals for 20 years. You know everybody. You don't have to go and discover the market. And you're in sales specifically, let's say, and all your customers have been telling you about their problems. So you come up with a product idea that basically has merit because, like, you have the signals, which is the market signals. People are telling you they need it, and you have the relationships, which means you don't have to go and discover for a long time. So but you're lacking the ability to build the technology. You have a chicken and egg problem because you don't have the finances to build the product, and if you don't have the product, you're not going to be able to raise easily, right? So this is where we come into play. We're like, okay, we'll build the product for you and we'll become partners with you. You run the show, we're your tech partners, we just want equity in the company. Okay,
Okay.
so this is tech for equity. So
So
this is
the
how we do
equity
it.
is about the investment. It's not necessarily about equalizing outcomes for marginalized groups.
Hmm. No,
That's
no,
again different
no.
between the
Might be
school
like
sector
equity. Okay,
and
that's cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very different. Like, yeah, it's not remotely the other term. Uh,
Although maybe that's a business idea, Abdo. Maybe we just gave you something there.
Well, I mean, and going back to something you said when I first came in to the conversation, you were talking about literacy, right? And
Yeah.
this whole concept of digital literacy, and that was a pretty profound statement, or a substantial claim that you're making. Like, if you don't know how to code, then you're illiterate in this world, right? That we're moving into. Is that fair to everybody? Is everyone going to have to learn how to code?
And what do you mean by
well,
code?
yeah, I mean, do you know how to write?
Yeah.
And did you have to? Like, do you think you have to today know how to write?
No, ChatGPT does it all for me now. But
No, no, but you have to write to Chat GPT, right? So
Sorta.
yeah, I mean, and probably agricultural societies that came before us, or manufacturing societies that came before, your strength was probably a more important parameter. And then we've had eras where you had different um, character traits that are more important.
Right.
In this day and age, information is, I think, in my opinion, one of the most important. Like, not necessarily learning information, but it's more like how to process, how to think about information.
Yeah.
And then the next phase is interfacing with machines, right? So we need to interface with ChatGPT. I need to be able to talk to it. I need to, make it as part of myself to a certain extent. Like right now, I use it for almost everything, right? Because if I don't, I'm very slow. So literacy, again, in here in this context, and coding means like I need to be able to at least write what a computer can understand. Okay. And by learning to write what a computer can understand, I learn more about the computer. And also, I learn more about people that are also talking to computers. And this way, there's a certain protocol of communication. Okay. And with crypto and the blockchain growing and growing, right, we need to interface probably with each other by writing contracts. Probably my will would be a blockchain contract, right? Um, and I trust it much more than having a paper with a lawyer, or in a trust or a government that might disappear by the time I die, because we're going to have very or much longer longevities, right? So yes, I think like being able to write was very important at the beginning of a century. Being able to code is very important nowadays. And yeah, we have to make sure we're able to do this now,
So
right?
now we should the curriculum at school should be changed from reading and writing and arithmetic to reading, writing, and coding.
Of course,
Is
of
that
course.
is that still even fair though? I'll stick with the fair question that Dan kicked off with, because like in my world, we're constantly trying to figure out how we can leverage natural language, trying to convert natural language into logic. Now we know there's problems there. Natural language is loosey goosey, and and contracts are very specific, and they can get very very um, uh, dirty in the details, and oftentimes you'll have lawyers, and yeah, and I would like to talk about this concept of smart contracts. um but isn't can't we create technology? Is Are humans supposed to go to the technology, or isn't it behooving upon us as the creators to have the technology come to the humans? Shouldn't computers talk human language?
Um, they probably do to a certain extent right now, but you're making yourself useless down the line, right? So if you're not adept enough,
Ouch.
you can say, yeah,
Yeah. I think I've rendered myself useless in the last 15 minutes. Ow!
no, I mean it is next phase. The one after it will be nicer towards entertainers. I think like the next era will be an era of entertainers where everything's being done for us, and the value that's being brought is by entertainers, because like everybody else will be probably replaced to a certain extent, right? Um, but um,
So
but yeah, I think.
hold on, I want to pick that thought apart a little bit, because I get where you're coming from. I've kind of
We
perceived
both
the same
do.
thing.
Clearly.
Yeah, I mean, like so. What I'm interpreting you saying is, with the advance of AI, with the advance of a lot of different digital technology and tech technology, a lot of jobs are going to go away. And so what's going to happen is we're going to have an economy of entertainers, like everyone's on Instagram,
or homeless, one or the other. I don't.
Well, entertainment is not just, entertainment. It could be sports, like anything
Right.
that involves a human being doing something. So this falls under entertainment for me.
Hmm.
And although like there could be players that play better than Messi down the line as robots, right? So robots playing better than Messi. Some people want to watch the robots, but you'll still find a lot of humans that want to watch humans do something. And we're basically very egotistical as a race, and as when a human being does something, we're very impressed with it, right? So we want to go and watch it. And so this is why you prefer going to a concert versus listening to a recording, right? And human basically polarize each other and get closer, and they want to do this. So I think like as AI takes off, yes, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
Entertainment would be.
unfortunately, most human beings are not very entertaining.
Well, yeah,
Let's face it.
or self-actuated to do that stuff. They kind of need leadership. People tend to need guidance. I don't. Yeah, maybe I'm conflating again things, but I mean, I understand. I think Dan and I again fully understand where you're going with it, and it sounds great because I've taken my brain there before, where automation, and I'll just use that blanket term, takes care of the toil. Right, that toil of digging dirt, but there are people who love the toil. And Dan made a joke the other day about what were you saying? Where what's going to become a farmers market?
Oh, yeah, writing, right? I
Writing,
mean,
like, will
writing is
become
going to be
human
like
human
human writing.
human right will be like a nice like artisanal thing where robotic writing is what everybody will be reading, right? So I mean, there are things that humans enjoy that we like to do, and even though it might be one person's toil, it might be another person's effort, but you take all that away, and where I even come to the notion that toil is what makes us better. Hardship actually builds us. What happens to humanity? We become these fluffy people who just
Like
we're just
Wally
like
world,
Wally
right?
or something like that. That's where my brain goes. I can't imagine. I mean, the pseudo Buddhist in me says where it says life is not without struggle. I mean, what
Life is
happens?
suffering,
Yeah,
Jodah.
what happens to
Life
the
is
human
suffering.
condition? Do we just become something different? I don't know, Abdo. Tell us the future.
uh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I try to anticipate some trends so I can better invest, right? Uh,
You're like, dude,
uh,
guys, I'm just trying to invest some money here. Make some.
it's not just investing in money. It's more like investing in yourself, right?
Yeah,
Investing in your positioning, your future, and making sure that you're better, right? um, and then it's more like I stopped thinking about like human computer competition. It's more, or like, me competing against the machine
right.
of the 19th century. It's human computer integration, right? How can we integrate to get better, right? So I
I
think
love
this
that.
is what I need to think. Yeah.
I love that. So I think there's an education thing that has to occur. I just wonder what kind of, as we do this transition, what kind of, how seamless can this transition occur? Because I could see it going really badly or really well. And one of the conversations Dan and I have had in the past is around the notion of systems thinking. And we just had a conversation with a professor of systems thinking at Cornell, and they say everybody should be learning systems thinking to understand the connections around them better. At what they say, kindergarten, Dan? I mean, like
Yeah, no, there should be reading, writing, coding, and
in
systems.
systems thinking.
That's the new curriculum.
Can we maybe we can get rid of the reading and writing part and just say
Oh yeah,
coding and systems
just
thinking?
coding and systems. Fuck reading and writing.
But that really, to your point, that people need to be trained to really think critically and understand the world. And maybe that would be the window to their souls and become better human beings. And one of the analogies I use, I play piano. I played piano my entire life, on and off. I am not as even close to as good as the best piano player in the world. That doesn't break my heart. I just enjoy playing piano. I even hear computers play songs better than I do. Doesn't break my heart. I play piano. I'm not comparing myself to any of those. I'm able to get pure joy and self-actuation by me just competing against myself, making myself better. So there is a story there where you don't need to be competing. A hammer hammers a nail in the wall way better than my hand does, and I'm not hurt over that. It doesn't bother me at all. So there is a story there. I get it, but I can also see people are concerned.
Well, I think it's about meaning, right? I mean, the things that you do, including like say writing, give you meaning to your life, right?
Yeah.
That if everything becomes automated, uh, you're not going to have that opportunity maybe to construct meaning or achieve things that you might have been able to achieve without that bot or whatever it is. But I want to get to also, speaking of meaning, values, right? Because as an investor, as someone who helps startups, we often say in my industry, when a budget is a reflection of your values. So I have to imagine that your investment portfolio is a reflection of your values. So what are some of the companies that you are investing in right now that have you excited and speak to your value system?
That's a very tough question for a person like me who believes in I believe in meritocracy. Okay,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
um, so the value is about choosing good
But that is
people,
a
right?
value.
So
Meritocracy is a value,
yeah,
correct?
but yeah, of course. So choosing the right people, like good people, honest. Like if you're not honest, if you don't have integrity, I would never partner up with you. I would never want to associate my name with you, right? This is how I choose people. I'm industry agnostic. I believe there's value at least towards some chunk of the population in some areas. It has to be a massive or at least something that is valuable, like not some that's very small, of course. But it's more about the people, and for me, it's not just about the idea. I don't necessarily care about the idea. It's
Okay,
more about the people themselves being in a specific industry for long enough to discover the real problems of that industry.
right.
And when they spend enough time, this is when basically they find the problems. And this is, my investment is for them to find the problems and fix them. I'm super early stage.
Yeah. So
So,
what are
yeah.
some problems that you're using your money to help solve through these companies?
Okay. Interesting one right now is Oculi. They just won the Luminate AI thing competition. So what they're doing is like the problem with computer vision in general is the delay between getting the data from a CPU from the sensor to the CPU. So this is just to make it as simple as possible. So imagine your eye takes so long to get the data to your brain. Well,
Yep.
I know eyes are part of the brain, but imagine like takes so long for
Yeah, it has to
sensory data
travel
to,
through
to
there.
get
Yeah.
processed. Yeah. Then you're not going to have any reflexes, so you cannot function normally, right? And this is one of the biggest problems in computer vision. So like you cannot get the data fast enough to the CPU. Okay. So what they did is like they built the first smart CPUs, smart sensors, right? And so it's called the SPU. It's a sensor processor unit, and they do the processing right on the sensor. Really, really cool technology. This is one of the companies that basically I use crypto to. I took crypto loans and then I put money in this company. So that was one of the early investments I've done this way.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Interesting. That's. Do
yeah.
you find is crypto? Oh, is that? Are you seeing more crypto investment in Silicon Valley these days, or are you a pioneer in this?
I'm not talking about. It's not a crypto investment. This thing like it was more like using crypto as a financial utility. Okay,
Okay.
so it was more like I have my Bitcoin. I don't want to sell them.
Right.
Okay, I believe in holding them as long.
Forever.
I
Right.
don't care. I
Like a
don't care
house.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It's
no, no, not yeah. I mean, it's just hold. Like
Yeah.
I've never thought about selling Bitcoin, right? So hold it, and then, but hey, I need to move. And it's the nice thing about Bitcoin nowadays, especially with Binance, I can get a loan right now in second, right? So I use it as collateral. You take a crypto loan, and then you can do whatever you want. It's a very small interest, but it gets me moving. Like instead of me going to the bank grabbing the money, it's going to take me a day. I don't have time. Just like take crypto loan, pay fractional
wow.
interest on it, which is for an hour, and then pay back an hour later, right? So this is one of the concepts that I can do just to save my time, and then you can use it for many different ways. Okay,
That sounds like a grandma
especially
story. That's something grandma can understand, right? I mean, that's like, so if you were holding, it's like gold, you're holding onto this thing and you can basically borrow against it at really, really inexpensive interest rates. That's
Who
interesting.
are
yeah,
What
you borrowing from though? Because banks aren't involved with this,
Binance,
right?
right?
But
it's
is
not
Binance
just
acting as a
Binance.
bank then?
Yeah, it is acting like a bank, but also the community can act as the lenders, right? So there are some distributed blockchains where you can like put money and take money out. But Binance is super fast. That's why I use it for this purpose. And I also put when you put your money to earn rewards on Binance, you're basically the lender. And I do this as well. Like I lend my bitcoins, and Binance acts as a middleman. I don't put all my bitcoins on Binance. Like it's we all know like not your keys, not your money. But you distribute well enough to be pragmatic. Like I can't put all my crypto on printed cold wallets. and function normally, right? So I keep a chunk on Binance, and this is what I use to, move around, to cash things in and out rapidly, et cetera, et cetera.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna ask the question that's asked all the time. So this is a trite question, but I think talking about, you said you can borrow against it. It's like, what are you borrowing against, right? What gives Bitcoin its value? Well, again, it's this thing that's sitting digitally in some sort of space. Why should people trust that one? What's the value derived from?
What's the value of a dollar derived from? The US dollar. Can,
That's
can you
always the
tell me?
response I get. I
No,
was,
no, and I'm not saying it in a way to compare. I'm saying like the question itself is answered by, hey, we people give value to things.
yeah,
If there aren't enough people that believe in this as a medium of exchange, then it's useless and it
right,
has no value. But because we have enough people that believe in it as a medium of exchange, then it's valuable. And scarcity makes it more valuable. Being portable is more valuable. And then it has many other properties. Like for me, being cross border is valuable. I don't have to, go in the United States out of it saying, hey, you're carrying $10,000 or not. I'm not carrying anything. It's out in the cloud. I have money in the cloud, right? So it's not that I'm hiding this. It's more like it's none of your business to
oh,
know what I'm using my money for. Granted that it's legal. Yeah, I'm not hurting anyone. I'm earning it in a good way. But I don't want you to know about my money. I don't want you to come and take it when you please. I don't want you to change its value. So yeah, this is it's a very nice property
that's
of Bitcoin.
interesting. You actually did the best job of answering the question, because you did just delineate a bunch of different values. Why I would want to leverage it, because there's a utility value in it. There's a bunch of utility values, and you add on to that limited, that what you call it, the finite resource. Then there's only so much, and if I want to leverage that value, I might pay a premium to get into that value, so that will push up its need. I guess my biggest kind of qualm with it is that the thing that limits it seems arbitrary to me. It seems weird. Like this whole that mechanism seems like, hey, let's just pretend there's a limitation here, and that rubs me the wrong way in a weird way. It's like, hey, I'm gonna pretend to make. I'm just gonna print 10 of these pictures. I'm just going to print. That's all. I can print 1,000 pictures, but I'm just going to print 10 so that I can get as much money out of it as I possibly can. And that, for some reason, rubs me the wrong way, and I don't know why.
Well, so you're talking about the limited supply of Bitcoin. Is that
Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah,
concerning to you?
yeah.
So there are two ways, right? It's either an increasing number or a fixed number in general. Like you can have a decreasing number, but think about it like, you either get more and more printed, or you have something that's fixed. And if it's more is being printed, it means like the initial value that's been done early on is losing its value. So let's say Dan invented bread, right? And we're all
I did,
benefiting
by
out
the
of
way.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty old.
and,
It was
and
rye.
and yeah, and he made good money back then.
Oh, tons.
Is it is it is it sourdough?
Oh, sourdough. I invented that after the rye.
All right. um, yeah. So yeah. I mean, Dan provided value to society, but then as Dan grew older, and society, and we kept printing money, whatever value Dan provided got lost. And the more we're printing, the more this number increases, you're basically losing value. So the other way around is to fix this number, and the more people come, the more people will basically benefit of what Dan had created back in the day, right? And basically Dan's value is increasing instead of like decreasing, right? It's not, you can think about it as arbitrary. I don't care what this number is, because like it can be split into as many decimals as you want, theoretically. Okay. I know right now, like we fix it to a certain 16 digits, but you can keep going down in decimals. So it is unlimited in theory. And today, like, when you're thinking about like, hey, how can we get more money if we need to make it more easier to deal with, right? You're thinking about Bitcoin as just, it's not your unit. And later down the line, we can think about as this is my unit, and things are changing the value, or things are changing, or the parameters are changing. No, today your unit is US dollar. If a euro changes, you don't think about the euro much, right?
Hmm.
And same thing for me. Like, I don't care if a dollar is fluctuating against Bitcoin, right? I want to keep my Bitcoin. If it goes up, it goes down, I want to keep my Bitcoin. So it is a unit for me.
Right. That's fascinating. When you described, I mean, that's the problem with inflation, right? I mean, you put too much money out into the economy, which happened during COVID, and the value of the dollar, your buying power goes down because the
Yep.
dollar's not worth as much anymore.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people basically see and understand this better during hyperinflations. They don't realize it usually because it's like cooking a frog little by increasing the temperature,
Right.
like as you're boiling a frog, right? So it's the same thing with inflation, and you don't notice this. You think it's okay, and then people go and demand salary increases or like minimum wage increases, and these are, just in my opinion, stupid, because like when you're looking for, minimum wage increase, it means like everything else is going to increase in price down the line. Everything is connected to everything, and it's just like the numbers are growing bigger. And if I'm better, I'm going to earn more. Like, not better in terms of like a better human being, but if I'm better at capitalizing the marketplace, I'm going to get more money out of it, and take even more. It becomes easier usually. The richer you get, the richer you get. Uh,
Yeah.
Is the killer app for blockchain still crypto? Is that the thing? Is crypto what you love about blockchain technology
Well, there are so many things that can be implemented.
on
I
blockchain?
would love to have I'd love to have a passport on the blockchain. That would be awesome. Um, I'd love to have, yeah, yeah. Go ahead,
What is
Paul.
a passport on a blockchain?
I mean, if I don't want to carry my passport. Like, it's a very risky
Oh,
thing,
I
right?
see
You
what you're saying.
lose
Yeah.
it. Yeah, if you lose your passport, it's very risky. Like, every time you want to apply for a visa, you have to go and fetch all the data from it. Passports should definitely be on the blockchain. You can validate them easily,
Birth
and
certificates
it's a
would be on
shared.
blockchains, I guess, right?
Yep, yep.
Well,
Anything
California
that
is
needs to
going in
be.
that direction too, right? I think the DMV is using blockchain technology now for people's
That's right.
hard
They did
tags.
mention that. Yeah,
Cool.
that's right. All right, so I'm not going to ask for financial advice from you because I think that would be illegal for you to give. I don't know, but what kind of? I want to invest in some cryptocurrencies, and it sounds like blockchain is still the big mama jama on the table here out there. People still talk about, but that one's pricey, and yeah, I know I can get in, like I can buy a 0.0005 of a coin someplace, or But are there any other cryptos that you think are kind of neat to look at and might be kind of less risky?
Yeah, but before I accept this statement, like, what you want to think about is not like how much a coin is worth, because this is a bad metric. What you want to
Okay.
think about is, I'm putting X dollars, for example, and making 20% more, or 100% more, right? So if, let's say, you put $1,000 in Bitcoin, okay, it's not like you're buying a fraction of Bitcoin that you should be thinking about. It should be more like, I'm putting $1,000 and getting $2,000 out. Okay, so this is how you should be thinking about investment. So it is actually a bias that we look at, and we started noticing this pattern because, like, sometimes people like to buy coins with lower values. So we know it's going to go up rapidly, but anything that goes up rapidly sometimes crashes rapidly.
Hmm.
So these are very volatile. So what you want to do is, create some smart distribution. I don't know which,
Kind of like a
I could.
mutual fund or something like that.
Yep, yep. Like an index.
An
I
index,
would
yeah.
go and, yeah, I would at least. It depends on your risk appetite. Like, different people have different risk appetites, right?
You're sounding like
Um,
Merrill Lynch now.
No, no Merrill Lynch, not happening here. But give us some names though. What are some of the coins out there that are legitimate? Let me put that. You find that you think are legitimate for your needs.
um, well, my majority is Bitcoin, basically. And then thinking about the future, I like Monero a little bit. And the reason I like it is that it's quantum resistant and more
Really?
private.
How the hell is that
Yeah.
possible?
So,
Wow.
well, it's about the algorithms, how they're written,
Okay.
and Bitcoin can basically fix this.
Huh.
But it's, anytime you're doing an open source project, in general, part of the risk is getting consensus, right? And usually when there are humans involved, I kind of like think about risk. So yeah, Monero is, if I want to recommend a little thing, it would be Monero. But stick to, majority would be in Bitcoin for now.
Still.
Keep your study on, look at the people behind the projects. So that's something to look at, right? Um,
I don't know.
and
Grandma's
think
going to
about,
do that. That's the thing. Grandma's not going to be doing that, unfortunately. Yeah.
well, grandma is not going to invest in general this way. Grandma generally,
That's true. That's
uh,
true. You're right. You're right.
so she
Yeah.
gives the money to you, and you're going to do the investment on her
That's right.
behalf.
Yeah, that's a good point.
My grandma wants to keep it all under the mattress.
The tooth fairy gives her interest, though. That's what she tells them. So,
Abdo, as a venture capitalist, also you're obviously looking toward the future too, especially with your investments, and you've shared a
Dan,
little.
real quick, we got 4 minutes and we have a hard stop, just so you know. So, go
Okay,
ahead.
this
Yep.
last question. Last question. What's your vision of the future? Because you've given some hints on this. Scare us to death. What's your vision?
Vision of what, Dan?
The future.
The
What's
future.
the
All right.
future
All right.
hold
All
for
right.
us?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
You got a minute.
It's a chat GPT era for me right now, or other bots. But you don't want to be scared about it or from it. I think it's going to be very good. From you want to be scared, I'll scare you. We're going to live like much longer, and by much longer I mean hundreds of years. And this is going to create a lot of problems that we're not thinking about right now. So you living for 200 years, think about Elon Musk living for 200 years, 300
You just
years.
scared all of X.
No, I love Elon. I'm a fan of him. Okay, but what I'm saying is, it's going to be very hard for the younger generation to compete with us who are older right now and are going to live for much longer.
Oh, that's
There's going to be
interesting. There's a
yep.
movie in there.
It's good that fertility rates are going down.
Well, aging is going to change, so there's a lot of room for societal abuse. Like, you're going to look 20, but you're 200 years old. So that's going to be a big problem to face down the line. The genetic pool might be messed up. That's one. We talked about financials. We talked about control. There are a lot of things, like, people that are coming late to the game of information. They're not going to know what's happening with them. So yeah, there could be some slavery that you're not aware of.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
a little part of good and bad of the future. Just like always, it's all good and bad.
Nice.
Appreciate the good, and do the best out of it.
Nice.
I feel comfortable. I feel very comfortable. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
No. Hey, we are at time. I think Philip's going to be jumping on here in a second, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining on our inaugural show. Of Spotlight from Hashed Out. This has been great, man.
Yep.
Thank you,
you very
guys.
much.
Thank you for hosting
I've learned
us.
a lot from you.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you,
and maybe
guys.
we can
Same
have
here.
back on. I'd love to go deeper in some of the technical sides, especially around the. And we don't have to just talk about crypto clearly, but I'm really interested in more about the smart contract stuff and how you see that kind of playing out, and if there's any cool investment opportunities that you're looking at that are kind of jumping into that. Because you didn't even bring up Ethereum, and I'm assuming maybe that's not something you're interested in because of.
No, I am, but we didn't go into smart contracts. We're
Yeah.
still like talking about, like, the top probably 70-80% of my holdings. And then next would be Ethereum, but like,
Ethereum.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. So,
All right.
well, hey guys, Dan, thanks for
Yeah.
joining. Come on, and we'll see you. We'll see everybody next time maybe next week. We're not sure yet, so we'll find out.
I think we're getting fired after this episode.
And then also you can see Dan and I at our Sense and Signal podcast once a week, typically, as well on YouTube. Just do a search for Sense and Signal, where we talk things about leadership in the future and organizational dynamics. So yeah. All right. Well.
Awesome.
All right then. All right, guys. I will
Take care,
see you
guys.
guys later. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I think we can stay on for a second here, man, just because
Hey,
there he
guys.
is. Philip, you could have. I was thinking you were going to join us when he was still on. So hey, that was good, and that was our first kickoff. It went pretty well.
Yeah, it looked like it went all right.
Yeah, it was good. What are you going to be talking about?
So today I'll be talking about like crypto news in general and anything that has to do with that. So it can also be sometimes interest rates or scams or that kind of thing. All
Okay.
the nitty gritty of it.
All right. Well, we got to look to have you on the show next time too, so we can kind of get learn a little more about you and your take on this stuff, because I bet you've got some good insights.
If you don't have somebody next time, maybe I'll jump on.
Yeah.
We can discuss some crazy ideas as well.
That'd be great, man. That'd be awesome. All right. Well, we'll leave you to it, man. And thanks a lot, man. And everybody, we'll see you next time. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you next time. Thank you. All right. So, curious what you guys thought in the comments about that. It's our first time having a hashed out spotlight, and I'll just jump in, talk about the news from here on for the rest of today. Let's jump right in. So today is the 29th of September, 2023. It's nice to have you guys with us. Smo3Ni, thanks for your support of Abdo during the conversation. It's cool. All right, U.S. House Committee mulls subpoena for SEC documents on FTX CEO. House Committee considers subpoenaing SEC for FTX-related documents, citing lack of transparency. Chair McHenry expresses frustration at the delay in receiving non-public documents on SBF's arrest. A potential government shutdown could lead to the furlough of 92 to 93% of SEC staff, impacting oversight. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. Global investors on alert. Yuan dances through Golden Week challenges. The upcoming Golden Week holiday in China will temporarily suspend trading in mainland China while it continues globally, which might lead to asset value disparities. The People's Bank of China has implemented stricter currency control measures, resulting in declining trading volumes and limiting opportunities for traders. Global issuers show increased interest in issuing yuan-denominated bonds, taking advantage of low interest rates. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye on that. PaySafe halts euro deposits for Binance users. What you need to know. We talked about this yesterday. We also talked about this yesterday, that Binance CZ Zhao said that he does not own, and that Binance does not own COMEX, that they sold the Russian branch of Binance to. So let's get into something a bit more recent that we haven't talked about here yet on the show. Hi, Binance user 09FC8 and the Clash 25. Nice to have you guys with us. The BIS and the central banks of France, Singapore, and Switzerland successfully tested cross-border wholesale CBDCs trading. With governments all over the world considering issuing wholesale CBDCs, Project Mariana sought to test international and exchange settlements in a CBDC future. The experiment was deemed a triumph by the participants, but further research and experimentation are required. It's the Bank of International Settlements, by the way, banks of France, Singapore, and Switzerland that successfully tested some international transfers using this new method. We'll see how that goes. Coinbase goes the extra mile to ensure sensible crypto with wake-up coffee cans. What? Coinbase and a group of American crypto entrepreneurs traveled to Washington, D.C. to persuade legislators to clarify the industry's regulatory framework, and with it came wake-up coffee cans. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, believes it is time for the USA to join the rest of the G20 and implement a set of clear regulations for the crypto industry. Coinbase International Exchange secures approval from the Bermuda Monetary Authority to offer perpetual futures to qualified non-U.S. retail customers. The problem is always U.S. customers right now because of the lack of regulatory clarity. So that's also why that was included. Brazil's central bank to tighten crypto regulations as adoption surge, as adoption surges. Brazil's central bank has announced that it will tighten crypto regulation following the surge in adoption, stricter regulation, and the design of its CBDC. Yep. Some upcoming articles about that too. There's a lot going on in Brazil. PayPal chooses Crypto.com as its preferred exchange for PYUSD. That's an interesting partnership. Crypto.com has announced that it now holds the highest liquidity for PayPal's PYUSD, boosting institutional and retail crypto adoption. U.S. authorities crack down on pig butchering crypto scams. That sounds pretty awful. U.S. authorities in Massachusetts have seized over $400,000 linked to pig butchering scams. Coordinated efforts to combat crimes in the crypto industry. The pig butchering scam, which has come under scrutiny from multiple U.S. authorities, operates through a series of manipulative tactics employed by scammers. These unscrupulous individuals establish a sense of trust with their victims through online communication channels. Once trust is established, they entice victims to invest in a cryptocurrency scheme that, unbeknownst to the victims, is entirely fraudulent. Often, victims continue to make additional payments, unaware that they have become victims of a well-orchestrated scam. So, let's see. Specifically targeted a resident of Massachusetts and was intertwined with money laundering activities. The government has initiated a civil forfeiture action in an attempt to recover cryptocurrency assets that are suspected to be the proceeds of this fraudulent scheme. It's interesting that it's called a pig butchering scam. It's like, you will get this at the end of investing this. Oh, we need more money. For example, like feeding a pig to butcher it to then provide some of the meat, that sort of thing. That's where that kind of name comes from. Coinbase International Exchange unlocks perpetual futures for non-US retail traders. Coinbase International Exchange receives regulatory approval from the Bermuda Monetary Authority to offer perpetual futures trading to non-US retail customers. We talked about this a moment ago. The move aims to democratize access to the crypto derivatives market, which is largely dominated by institutional players and accounts for nearly 75% of global crypto trading volume. Despite ongoing legal challenges with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Coinbase continues its global expansion, recently gaining approval to offer crypto futures to institutional clients in the U.S. Ripple abandons Fortress Trust's acquisition amid security incident fallout. Ripple has decided to cancel its acquisition of Fortress Trust. The acquisition was part of Ripple's broader strategy to expand its pool of licenses in the U.S. Fortress Trust disclosed that the decision had been rushed due to a serious security incident involving a third-party analytics vendor. Crypto exchange FTX founder faces potential lengthy sentence as trial begins. So U.S. District Judge Louis Kaplan denies bail request for Sam Bankman-Fried. The trial is set to begin next week. That's coming up. Judge Kaplan expressed concerns about Bankman-Fried's potential flight risk, stating that in the event of a conviction, he could be looking at a lengthy prison term. Do we know how long? Very long sentence is the term that was used. We don't have a specific amount of years or something that he could be in prison for yet. I think it's not everything's clear yet. Swiss bank Hypothekarbank Lenzberg joins SDX crypto exchange. Hypothekarbank Lenzberg joins Six Digital Exchange, becoming the sixth Swiss bank in the blockchain-based platform. SDX membership grants the bank access to digital securities trading, including bonds and equities. Switzerland's crypto-friendly regulatory environment continues to attract financial institutions to the digital asset space. Hello 541E9. Nice to have you with us. It's funny to say hello to somebody whose name is actually Hello. Hello. Sounds strange, but it's nice to have you with us. Should have said hi instead. Fireblocks integrates Tezos network to enhance crypto custody and settlement. Fireblocks announces full support for the Tezos network, allowing secure storage of Tezos-based assets and facilitating decentralized application development. The integration is expected to boost Tezos's decentralized finance, or DeFi, activity, which currently ranks 29th in total value locked, TVL, among all protocols, with about $49 million secured in smart contracts. Hi, anonymous user 8007. Nice to have you with us. If you guys have anything you want to specifically talk about, feel free. Something in the news. Just clarify which one, because there is a difference between the time I'm in and the time you're in as far as there's a delay, basically. So I might be talking about something else by the time your message gets through. The SEC delays Valkyrie spot Bitcoin ETF decision again, probably to next year. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has once again extended its decision deadline to October 19th, 2023 for the listing of Valkyrie Bitcoin fund shares on the NASDAQ stock market, citing legal and policy issues. The SEC is inviting public comments on various aspects of the proposal, including its alignment with Section 6b(5) of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, which mandates rules to prevent fraud and protect investors. This delay is part of a broader pattern of SEC postponements on cryptocurrency-based financial products, including other Bitcoin-related funds from companies like BlackRock, Fidelity, and VanEck. The approval process is expected to extend for several more months, and I actually expect it to move to next year from what they've done with the others that we've looked at on this show, actually. U.S. calls China out for global media manipulation. In a bold move to shed light on the hidden agendas operating behind the scenes, the U.S. has raised an alarm over China's alleged attempts to dominate and skew the global information landscape. This audacious revelation comes at a time of escalating tensions between the two superpowers, with the U.S. asserting that China's information warfare threatens to subordinate nations' interests to Beijing's whims. This is something you can look into if you want. We could talk about that for quite some time, actually. It's more complicated than it seems at first. Bank of England shakes up lending for non-banks. So the Bank of England is introducing a permanent lending facility for non-bank financial entities like insurers and pension funds during financial crises. Traditional lending has been primarily to banks, which showed limitations during the 2020 pandemic and the 2022 gilts crisis. That's an interesting way to change things up. Is China even worth the headache it's giving Europe? What's the short answer? Europe's foray into an international trade with China hasn't been a walk in the park. As economic dynamics shift and political leaders grapple with decisions that could define the future of their economies, many are left wondering, is engaging with China worth all the troubles it's been causing? And we saw earlier during the week that roughly 33% of European investors and companies are trying to leave the Chinese market. And it was 24% for American ones. Yacarino promises a fresh start for troubled ex-bankers. In the complex world of finance and social media mergers, few have been as rife with tension and turmoil as Elon Musk's acquisition of what we once considered recognized as Twitter. Now called X, the platform is facing its share of challenges. At the heart of the storm stands Linda Yacarino, the woman who's now tasked with rejuvenating a platform grappling with its identity. She gears up to meet the 7 heavyweight banks that funded Musk's audacious takeover. There's palpable anticipation in the air. Everyone's waiting to see how Yacarino plans to breathe life into X and whether she has the mettle to set things right. So X's rendezvous with financial calamity wasn't abrupt. The decline began subtly before Musk's final curtain call. A confluence of hesitant advertisers and a global economic tremor made matters worse. And then there was Musk. His typical rhetoric and lax moderation policies didn't do X any favors. The consequence, major brands retracting their ad dollars, some out of recession fears and others perturbed by the platform's new direction. The aftermath of this acquisition left the banks with Morgan Stanley at the helm, shouldering roughly $13 billion in acquisition-related debt. It wasn't just about the massive numbers, but the plummeting value of the paper they were holding onto. At one bleak point, offers rolled in proposing to buy a chunk of this senior debt at merely 65 cents on the dollar, a move that would have translated to staggering losses exceeding $1 billion for the banks. Why swallow such a bitter pill? Yet amidst this gloom, there's a glint of hope. U.S. revenues for X have dropped significantly post-takeover, a fact Musk himself declared. Still, earnings remain stable enough to service X's hefty annual interest bills. And Yacarino, she's exuding a guarded optimism. A hint of revival, maybe, as she confidently dismisses any risk of X running dry on cash. The silver lining being that a majority of 2022's top global spenders are slowly but surely reopening their wallets for X. So yeah, things are turning around for X. I've actually seen that already. Finance Live just did that thing where I had to refresh the page and I can't see any of the comments that were there before. Sorry about that, but I do appreciate them. I just can't read them again because of that. It's a strange thing that only Binance Live does, as far as I know. World Federation of Exchanges wants crypto to meet TradeFi, traditional finance. WFE demands crypto asset trading platforms adhere to established standards similar to traditional finance. The WFE emphasizes the need for regulation in the cryptosphere to boost market credibility. Decentralized finance isn't as autonomous as it appears, with centralized decisions like Ethereum's merge highlighted. We'll see how that goes. That could be interesting for all of us. Van Eck unveils groundbreaking Ethereum futures ETF in the US. Investment management firm Van Eck unveils the Ethereum Strategy ETF, EFUT, aiming to invest in Ethereum futures contracts rather than direct ETH holdings. The SEC continues to delay decisions on various cryptocurrency and ETFs, including previous applications from Grayscale and Van Eck's own Ethereum ETF proposal. Hi, Binance E7I8. Nice to have you with us from Ethiopia. That's cool. Hi, Binance user 62F11. Nice to have you with us. We had somebody from Algeria yesterday. So it's cool to see people jump in and say where they are. It's kind of fun. Hi, Nimya X. Nice to have you with us. Gemini counters New York Post's claims on Earn program. The New York Post's report insinuated mismanagement of funds by Gemini, which the crypto firm has vehemently denied, clarifying that the $282 million withdrawn was users' funds from the Earn program. Gemini accuses Barry Silbert and the Digital Currency Group of attempting to manipulate public opinion and suggests that they might have fed the New York Post a fabricated story. We'll see how that goes. Theta Labs collaborates with Pet Collective to engage superfans through NFTs. The Pet Collective partners with Theta Labs to offer exclusive content to fans through NFTs, aiming to strengthen bonds with superfans and explore new content distribution avenues. Theta Labs, with a team from giants like Netflix and Amazon, aspires to revolutionize the media sector, seeing this collaboration as a step towards becoming the leading blockchain for media and entertainment. Interesting. Seen a few collaborations today already. Robert Kiyosaki warns of CBDC's impact on privacy. Robert Kiyosaki voices concerns over the Federal Reserve's potential CBDC and its impact on privacy. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad author warns that a digital dollar could lead to heightened government surveillance. Kiyosaki champions precious metals, Bitcoin, and physical banknotes as vital alternatives to the digital dollar. Interesting. I actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a pretty good book. Gives you an idea of why things are the way they are sometimes. FinTech Festival Thailand 2023 takes unexpected turn with CIB raid. Central Investigation Bureau raids FinTech Festival Thailand 2023, disrupting the event and attempting to detain numerous individuals. The unexpected twist highlights Thailand's tight FinTech regulation, especially regarding financial entities. It was a networking event that covers a broad spectrum of industrial topics, including banking, payments, personal finance, digital assets, Web3, blockchain, and investments. So the CIB rated it. Who were they trying to arrest? Anybody specific? Wow. They even have backpacks with their logo on it. That's kind of cool. Just a side note. So they're there to, they're trying to find the right balance between fostering fintech innovation and ensuring investor protection in Thailand as much as anywhere else. Financial regulators in Thailand, including the Securities and Exchange Commission, have been proactive in regulating financial entities and digital asset service providers. The Thai SEC released new guidelines effective from July 31st, 2023 to mandate explicit risk warnings for customers. The regulatory body bans the use of customers' funds for lending or investments. There's been a few things like that going on there. Interesting. 4 more arrests made in JPEX crypto exchange probe. Police in Hong Kong and Macau have apprehended 4 additional individuals in connection with the ongoing investigation related to the JPEX crypto exchange. The regulatory body has announced its intention to publish details of license applicants. Authorities are actively pursuing several other fugitives connected to the case. They're still trying to catch everybody. It's like they're hunting Pokemon or something. Crypto artist raises $140,000 for cancer treatment at NFT art event in Edinburgh. Popular crypto artist Trevor Jones has raised nearly £114,000 through an NFT art exhibition. The event garnered significant attention from both the NFT art community and philanthropists, resulting in substantial donations. The funds raised at the charity exhibition and auction hosted at Chateau de Valérie near Paris will play a vital role in supporting cancer patients and their families. Interesting. Trevor Jones, 114 pounds. It's interesting they're raising pounds in Paris. Valkyrie focuses on ETH futures amid SEC's BTC ETF delays. Valkyrie plans to offer Ether futures to US investors via its Bitcoin strategy ETF. From October 3rd, the fund's name will change to the Valkyrie Bitcoin and Ether strategy ETF. While waiting for the SEC's decision on Ether futures ETF listing, Valkyrie diversifies its approach. That's interesting. Hi, Hajar Alimrani 4055F. Nice to have you with us. Van Eck unveils Ethereum ETF ads. Monday launch anticipated. Is that how soon we're going to get that? Van Eck is gearing up to launch its Ether futures ETF, with some experts predicting a release as early as October the 2nd. That's in just a few days. The firm has debuted 2 Enter the Ether TV commercials, signaling the imminent launch of the Ethereum strategy ETF, EFUT. Van Eck's promotional materials showcase both quirky and conventional ETF marketing approaches. It's interesting. We'll see how that goes as well. UAE, United Arab Emirates, issues stablecoin and new digital asset regulations and legislation. Okay, it looks like there's a lot going on in the UAE. Dubai Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority calls stablecoins fiat referenced virtual assets. So fiat referenced virtual assets and excludes CBDCs and AED currency. Okay, so CBDCs and AED won't be considered stablecoins. Dubai International Financial Center consultation paper to legislate a new digital assets law and new law of security regime. The DIFC legislative proposal also proposes changes to other cornerstone DIFC laws, including the contract law, the insolvency law, the law of obligations, the trust law, and the foundations law, to cater to the requirements of digital assets and the larger legal framework of the DIFC. That's a lot of changes at once. Even foundations, that's actually pretty impressive that they're doing it all at the same time. U.S. Democrat advocates for centralized record keeping of off-chain crypto transactions. U.S. Representative Don Bayer, a Democrat, is proposing legislation that would require crypto exchanges to share off-chain transaction data with centralized repositories for regulatory oversight. The bill aims to protect investors from fraud and manipulation by standardizing internal record keeping among private crypto entities covering a wide range of digital commodities, assets, and collectibles. Despite the bill's objectives, it faces political challenges, including a Republican-controlled House with its own crypto agenda and a Senate that has been largely unreceptive to major crypto legislation. This is very interesting that it's a Democrat pushing for having a close eye on off-chain transactions, but they're perfectly fine legalizing theft in stores to up to a certain dollar amount, which they've done in California and several cities in the US. It's just a very strange kind of double take. So if you have money, they want to scrutinize everything you do. If you don't, you can literally steal whatever you want as long as it's not above a certain dollar amount. Otherwise, they start caring. It's a very strange thing. If you guys, I'm also trying to get you guys to react, maybe in chat, but maybe this isn't interesting to you that much. Gemini exits the Dutch market amid regulatory constraints. Maybe this will be more interesting for you guys. Okay, maybe not. Or a 4-page not found. Let's try that again. I guess we're not going to be able to talk about that one today. Eurozone's shocking inflation plunge, lowest in 2 years. The Eurozone inflation experiences a significant drop, hitting its lowest in 2 years. Eurostat data reveals a decline to 4.3% for the year to September from 5.2% in August. This downturn sparks hopes of a stabilization in consumer prices and hints at potential policy shifts by the European Central Bank. It's interesting. They do want to get to 2% or lower. That's part of the actual charter that was part of the creation of the European Central Bank. Minus 1% deflation, plus 2% inflation are the two maximums in the document. I remember reading it when it was created. Credit Suisse's $2.2 billion bombshell, UBS breaks up with Apollo. Credit Suisse anticipates a $2.2 billion loss in the third quarter following UBS's takeover. Major losses arise from the exit of loans from the bad bank, non-core, and legacy unit, totaling around $1.6 billion. An additional loss of up to $600 million is tied to the termination of specific management arrangements, hinting at the Apollo deal from last year. Interesting. Brian Armstrong, this is JP Morgan for UK crypto ban. Yep. So Armstrong's concerns of crypto fraud triggered JP Morgan's decision. In a world increasingly adapting to digital financial solutions, not everyone seems to be on board with the crypto revolution. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong has thrown a critical spotlight onto JP Morgan Chase, rebuking the financial giant for its recent move to halt all crypto-related transactions for its UK-based digital banking offshoot, Chase UK. JP Morgan Chase's UK entity, established as an independent entity since 2021, unveiled its startling decision earlier this week. And we talked about that on the show. They informed customers of a cessation of cryptocurrency purchases, either through debit cards or bank transfers. Why? The bank argues that with the burgeoning growth of crypto assets, there's a parallel surge in fraudulent activities, enabling scamsters to defraud unsuspecting individuals of substantial amounts. It's not just an isolated sentiment. Other banking behemoths in Britain, like NatWest and HSBC, have echoed similar stances, narrowing the bridge to the crypto world, citing fraud concerns. Armstrong, however, wasn't buying this reasoning. Speaking to CNBC's Squawk Box, Armstrong voiced his disagreement, hinting that such decisions undermine the industry's integrity. He candidly remarked, periodically, a global bank decides to sideline this burgeoning industry. But is that their call? Our societal norms don't function that way. Such pivotal decisions should fall under governmental purview. That's an interesting idea. A few bankers making a decision or a few politicians making a decision has an effect on all of us. I'm not sure which we should prefer making that decision. We can vote with our wallet when it comes to banks, and we can vote politically when it comes to government. So I guess could be a mix of both. Kind of up to us in that sense. Let's see if there's anything new. SBI Holdings and TradeFinex join forces to amplify XDC network in Japan. Let's take a look at this. I like these kind of graphics for these. SBI Holdings and TradeFinex have formed a joint venture in Japan to promote the XDC network, a blockchain focused on improving trade finance efficiency. The venture aims to localize XDC network information in Japan, support crypto exchanges interested in handling XDC, and expand partnerships with other network layers. This collaboration comes as Japan shows increased openness to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, including potential regulatory changes and alternative fundraising methods for startups. That is fascinating. All right, let's go take a look at the crypto prices today. Hi, Shashir BD. Nice to have you with us. So today, Bitcoin is at $26,792.79. That's up 0.72% in the last 24 hours, up less than half of 1% in the last 7 days. Today, the Fear and Greed Index is at 42. I feel like I'm giving the weather when I read this, by the way. We're getting closer to the sunny times. The rain is going away. It's been raining all week. We were at 39 yesterday, so 42 is 3 points up on the Fear and Greed Index. So that's pretty good. Ethereum is at $1,664.42. That's a 2.19% increase in the last 24 hours, which is a 4.10% increase in the last 7 days, which is pretty good for Ethereum. That's actually interesting that it's so much higher than Bitcoin in percentages, obviously, not in amounts. BNB, $215.25, up 0.65% in the last 24 hours, up 2.17% in the last week, last 7 days since last Friday. XRP is at 52 cents 66, up 4.98% in the last 24 hours. Sorry, it just went up to 4.99% up in the last 24 hours, up 2.97% in the last 7 days. Thanks for the like, Binance user 4DED3. Guys, don't hesitate to like and subscribe. Subscribing helps you know when we go live next with things like the spotlight discussion we had today, or the special I'm doing tomorrow about the Republican primary debate, see what kind of effects their policies may have on crypto. I'll be doing that tomorrow at the same time we usually have the show. So that'll be 2 hours of debate, plus some, maybe I'll pause sometimes to comment on some of the things they're talking about, since a lot of you aren't from the US. You might not understand what they're talking about. So if you're interested, hop in, join us for that tomorrow. And then otherwise, we have daily crypto news, which we do every day of the week as well. So subscribe so you can see that, and then like, so makes us feel good that we're actually doing something people enjoy, and it's as long as it brings something to you, some kind of added value, that makes it worth our time. So thank you for that. Hi, okay, a bunch of people answered after that. Hi, Grim Reaper 87, Binance 7 JFP, Binance user BD 84D, Hajar Elimrani 4055F, and Binance user ECA 93. Nice to have you guys with us. Thanks for joining. All right, so we did XRP. Cardano's ADA's up 2.55% in the last 24 hours, up 3.09% in the last 7 days to 25 cents 31. Dogecoin is up 1.31% in the last 24 hours, up 0.27% only in the last 7 days to 6 cents 18. Wait, to zero. Yeah. Wait, that's not right. The 0.618. Sorry. So it's not even. Yeah, it's interesting right now what's going on. So yeah, it is 6 cents 181. I feel like it hasn't moved. Like, we've been at this exact spot. I guess it makes sense. Almost a week ago. It's only moved 0.29%. That's why I was kind of glitching out there for a second. Oh, thanks, Ashkok Shill, Rio user 72DR, and Kiranch. Thanks for joining. Solana Sol, $20.23, up 4.97% in the last 24 hours, up 3.12% in the last 7 days. TRX from Tron up 3.67% in the last 24 hours, up 5.50% in the last 7 days to 8 cents 878. That just went up to 8 cents 883, and it just went down again. So it's moving quite a bit in this moment. So I'm speaking. Ton from Ton coin up 0.65% in the last 7 days, down 3.85% in the last 7 days. Sorry, up 0.37% in the last 24 hours, down 3.79% in the last 7 days to $2.22. See the biggest, start with the biggest losers because that's always the most depressing part. Maker down 4.67% in the last 24 hours, but still up 12.39% in the last 7 days, $2,454.40. Terra Classic, Loon C down 4.47% in the last 24 hours. Almost no change in the last 7 days. Slight uptick of 0.04, 0.07% in the last 7 days. It keeps changing before my eyes. And then the only one who's down more than 2% other than those two in the last 24 hours is Gate Token GT. And these are only the top 100, correct? So Gate Token GT is down 2.13% in the last 24 hours, down 3.41% in the last 7 days to $3.74. Let's go look at the biggest winners. There should be, wow, that's quite higher. Gala from Gala Games trying to make a comeback, up 11.15% in the last 7 days, up 10.25% in the last 24 hours to 1 cent 479. I remember when Gala Games was almost counted in full dollars instead of cents. Pepe following behind closely with 9.42% up in the last 24 hours, 16.31% up in the last 7 days. So actually outperforming Gala in the uptick over the last 7 days. Interesting. Sui is up 8.93% in the last 24 hours, up 8.59% in the last 7 days to 47 cents 93. Arbitrum is up to 90 cents 42, up 7.51% in the last 24 hours, up 7.08% in the last 7 days. Yeah, high BPS Mendus user 6,422. Nice to have you with us. And then we have a whole bunch up 5%, a whole bunch up 4%, 3%, 2%. So definitely more potential upticks than downticks, as we saw before. All right, thank you guys very much. See you tomorrow for the Republican primary special. We'll discuss that. If the Democrats ever have a debate, we'll also jump in on that, but it doesn't look like they're going to have one. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you for joining. Hi, Sidric. Have a great Friday and a good weekend if you don't join us tomorrow. And if you do join us tomorrow, have a good weekend anyways. All right, that's it for today's Hashed Out. See you. Thanks. Bye.